तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and today we have to take up Conversations of November 26, 1883. It seems to be a big gap between 16 October and 26 November, more than a month. And before we take it up, let us discuss one point which we dealt with yesterday. And that is, Thakur is asking all the devotees to think that God has become everything. In every person and also inanimate things, God is present. God himself has become everything. God himself has appeared as everything. They are all shadows. God is the only reality. So now, and he has taught this. He has been teaching this to the householder devotees also. And householders, they are living in the world. And they see the best things of the world and the worst things of the world also. And so they find it difficult how to see God in everybody when his behavior is not human at all. Inhuman, sexual harassment of small children, and like this. Say, take up the best example in this worst example, that is Ravana. And we have been asked to see there is God in him. Then Ishan says, but it is very difficult. And Thakur agrees. So that is the first point. It is very difficult. Thakur also agrees. But he does not want us to give up on that account. Then the second point is, Thakur says, when you realize God, then you will automatically see that God is everywhere. And today what you have to do? Have firm faith like Krishna Kumar. That is his solution. Now, I think I quoted one incident, sometimes 2-3 times perhaps. One sannyasini of the Sarada Math saw our Ramakrishna Mission Vidyarthi Ashram, and in different compounds, different charitable works were being performed, and in one compound, they were killing each other, they were fighting with each other, they were hitting each other, including killing. And then the Holy Mother appeared and said, this is all mine. So our basic concept that God is present only in good people or God is only good, itself will have to be given up. So the worst situation, I will give an example. How God is in everything. Now there is a lamp, and the flame in the lamp is same every time. But the lamp has a chimney, a glass covering. And if that glass covering is full of black soot, then black light will come out. If that chimney is red, blue, green, yellow, like that the light will come out. If the chimney is irregular intensity of the glass, then distorted pictures will come out. But light is the same. So what is infinite are the minds of the people. God's presence in everybody is always there. And in the Gita, the Lord says that for me, all are same. For me, I do not love the good and hate the bad. No, no, not at all. But if you are a devotee, you, by the power of that bhakti, you experience that you are in God and God is in you. That is due to your bhakti. So far as I am concerned, samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyasti na priya. Now, can you say that Ravana's mind was polluted, but God was not present in him? We cannot say so. So, it is difficult, is very true. Why it is difficult? Because we take those things to be real. Those things are all shadows. Those things depend upon men's minds, and the mind is never real ultimately. Mind itself has to be given up. So the three steps Thakur has shown, one is that you have to see God in everything. Secondly, when it is proposed that it is difficult, Thakur agrees and tells that after you realize God, then you will see this. And the third thing he says is that till then you must have faith. Though I do not feel, but God is in everything. Though I see this wickedness, but God is there in him. And Thakur also has told in the beginning that it does not mean that you have to behave with everybody in the same way. You have to behave with the wicked people, you have to show some anger, etc., etc. Thakur has told several times. So behavior is different, but the conviction should be that God is there in everything. Now let us see what Swami Vivekananda has to say about it. He says that in the Jnana Yoga there is a chapter, God in everything. And there he says, suppose I practice that God is in everybody and somebody comes and says a bad word to me or hits me, I immediately become angry and I want to hit him. But by constant practice, this will go away. That is what Swami Vivekananda says. Though I am not able to see, but God is there in everybody. So, with the scriptural evidence, with the people like Krishna Kishore, who had tremendous faith, though they accosted every type of people, and so it is difficult, definitely difficult, but that does not mean that we have to give it up. We must try. We must have the conviction that though I do not feel, he is there. Secondly, I am not asked to behave with everybody in that manner, but Swami Vivekananda in his creed of Ramakrishna Mission says how a man has to behave with other man in the sense that God is there in that form. So a respectful distance has to be kept. Why should we allow our mind to be affected by good or bad both? If you are affected by good, then you will be affected by bad also. So there is no easy solution of this problem. And yet, whether they are householders or sannyasis, the truth is truth. And they have to believe it, have firm faith. That is why Thakur has quoted Krishna Kishore at length. So, good or bad, and I quoted the Sarada Math Sannyasi in his experience of mother telling that all this is mine. So, For mother, there is nothing good or bad. We can go push further and see from mother's eyesight. There was a person, Amjad. He was a Muslim, a very low caste man, and part-time thief. If he got some work, he would do. If he had no work, he would steal. And once there was a big gap between his visit to mother, and he came after a very long time with some bananas, plantains for being offered to Sri Ramakrishna. And mother asked, I have not seen you for a long time. He said that I was put into jail due to the charge on me that I have stolen a cow. Evidently, that was the thing. Mother said, oh, I worried whether you have fallen sick. That is why you are not able to come. So stealing a cow, and yet mother is showing him same love. Mother was also a householder. So the ideals are shown, and we have to have faith. There is no other way. We should understand that it is difficult, but the Vaishamya in the world is tremendous. There are Ravanas and there are Ramas. And so, in spite of all that, we have to have faith. And ultimately, we should also have the faith that ultimately we shall succeed in actually seeing God in everything. And till then, we have to behave. Thakur has given that another example, that a guru taught that Narayan is in everything, but we have to realize that. So when the disciples went to gather wood, a mad elephant was coming, and the rider, the Mahout, was shouting, "Mad elephant, run away, run away." All ran away, but one disciple thought, there is God in the mad elephant also. So he stood in front and prayed, and the elephant took him in his trunk and revolved him and threw him, and he became unconscious. The disciples took him to the ashrama, other co-disciples. And then when he came to senses, the Guru asked him what happened. And he told like that. Then Guru said that why you did not listen to the Mahut Narayan? He was telling you to get away. That means we have to keep our senses, our sense of propriety all right, and we have to observe certain values in the relative world. Thakur has given several examples that God is in tiger, so you do not have to go and embrace the tiger. So keep a safe distance, but do not get disturbed by anything happening in the world. Know that ultimately it is only an appearance and it is God's play. I think this is the only way possible. Then now we turn our attention to 26 September 1880, November 1883. It was the day of in Bengali, a new chapter opens up. Sri Ramakrishna Sindhuryapati Brahma Samaje, Kamal Kutire, or Shri Jai Gopal Sener Vatite Agaman. Three different things are there, but now we are dealing with Sindhuryapati. It was the day of the annual festival of the Sindhuryapati Brahma Samaj. The ceremony was to be performed in Manilal Mallik's house. The worship hall was beautifully decorated with flowers, wreaths, and evergreens. That is, Pushpa Vruksha Pallave. The leaves, evergreens means the leaves of the tree, they are also used for decoration. And many devotees were assembled, eagerly awaiting the worship. Their enthusiasm had been greatly heightened by the news that Sri Ramakrishna was going to grace the occasion with his presence. Keshav, Vijay, Shivnath, and other leaders of the Brahma Samaj held him in high respect. So many people's opinion, faith, loss of faith, all depend upon what the leaders do. So that is why Sadhana Swamiji has quoted that these leaders, who were the leaders of religious men in those days, of English educated young people, held him in high respect, and his life, his God intoxicated state of mind. So not only because they praised, but see his intense love of spiritual life, his burning faith, his intimate communion with God. So these are all things for the common man to see. And his respect for women, another important point in those days, when people in India and throughout the world never respected women. They thought women are objects of enjoyment. But Thakur respected women. Today, in India, we are thinking we should respect women after so many years. But Thakur respected women in those days, which was a great quality in Master Maharsh's mind and the mind of the general public, whom he regarded as veritable manifestations of the Divine Mother. So, in the West, Swamiji has said, a man pays respect to a woman only because of her beauty. In India, she is held as mother, and in Thakur's case, she is held as the representation of the Divine Mother herself, Divine Mother herself. So that was the thing which people could see in him, together with the unsullied purity of his character. So, purity from money, from woman, that was his purity unsullied. His complete renunciation of worldly talk, not only worldly things but worldly talk. When 10 people gather, they start talking about the world, but not Sri Ramakrishna. His love and respect for all religious faith, that was another wonderful thing which the Brahmos saw. And his eagerness to meet devotees of all creeds. So the practical application of believing in all creeds attracted the members of the Brahmo Samaj to him. Devotees came that day from far off places to join the festival, for it would give them a chance to get a glimpse of the master and listen to his inspiring talk. So see the master and listen to his talk. They came from far away because it was already understood that Thakur will be going there. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at the house before the worship began. Time was there, and he became engaged in conversation with Vijay Krishna Goswami and the other devotees. We have seen that due to the split into samajas, there were some misconception about each other, but Thakur himself had resolved that and said, let the followers do what they like, but Vijay and Keshav should never have ill feelings towards each other. And so we say that Vijay also is present, and the other devotees. The lamps were lighted and the divine service was about to begin. The master asked if Shivnath would come to the festival. A Brahmo devotee said that he had other important things to do and was not coming. He might have even avoided Sri Ramakrishna. But Sri Ramakrishna loved him all the same. That is the wonderful Catholicity of his character. Master, I feel very happy when I see Shivnath. He always seems to be absorbed in the bliss of bhakti. That is his observation. About Shivnath, whatever he may say about Thakur, that does not affect Thakur's mind. Further, a man, no, this is an important point. We call him, we see analyze our own minds and our behavior. If a person loves us, shows respect for us, in our mind he becomes a good person. If he does not respect us, if he does not love us, we think he is a bad man. That is the average man's behavior. But the right man does not do like that. He observes his overall behavior and then decides goodness or badness or whether to love him or not. So, Shivnath, Thakur is not seeing what he talked about Thakur himself, but he saw bhakti in him. He always seems to be absorbed in the bliss of bhakti. Further, a man who is respected by so many surely possesses some divine power. This is what the Lord says in the Gita, Yadyad vibhuti mat sattam shrimad urjitam eva tattadevavagachattam mama tejoncha sambhavam. So a man is respected by many genuinely, not flattery, not showing respect, but real respect. Then he must have some element of nobility in him. That is how Thakur judges people. Surely possesses some divine power, but he has one great defect. There is another beauty of Thakur's life. Beauty. He does not become attached to the man, overlooking his defects. He has bhakti, so Thakur is happy to see him, but he has a defect. And that also, Thakur talks openly in people's assembly. He does not think, oh, if I talk ill of him, what people will think, what Shivnath himself will think. He is telling the truth. But he has one great defect. He doesn't keep his word. Once he said to me that he would come to Dakshineshwar, but he neither came nor sent me word. That means Thakur allows him. If he is not able to come, he should inform. But that also he has not done. That is not good. It is said that truthfulness alone constitutes the spiritual discipline of the Kali Yuga. Satyavachan is Kali Yuga's tapasya. Because we are lost the other forms of spiritual life, this we must keep. And it is tapasya, mind you. Tapasya means it is not easy to keep up truth in Kali Yuga, and therefore it is tapasya. We must keep it with all cost. If a man clings tenaciously to truth, he ultimately realizes God. Without this regard for truth, one gradually loses everything. I think I've told you two stories to support this. Second point first. A young man wanted to marry a girl. So the girl's father called him and wants to test him. And is asking him whether he smokes, he said no, whether he drinks, no, whether he does gambling, he said no. So every vice he said no. So the father was impressed and said, you seem to have a perfect character. Then the young man said, but one defect I have. I occasionally speak the untruth. You understand? So all which he has told might be untruth. So a man speaks untruth, he loses everything. The other story is about Dayananda Saraswati, the founder of Arya Samaj. There was a rich devotee. His son had all the bad habits. So the father requested the Ananda Saraswati to do something. Then the Swami went to his house and some faith arose in him, that young man. And he came and made pranams to him and asked, "What can I do for you?" That was enough for the Ananda Swami. He said, "Can you do one thing for me? You should stick to truth always." And the young man agreed. Now, next time, when he wants to go some bad place and father sees him and asks, "Where are you going?" He could not trek on truth. And slowly, he recovered his character. So, in Thakur's case, absolutely he is to keep up the truth. He is telling that without the regard for truth, one gradually loses everything. If by chance I say, I will go to the Pine Grove used to go for answering calls of nature. By chance he has said so. I must go there, even there is no further need of it, lest I lose my attachment to truth. After my vision of the Divine Mother, I prayed to her. After my vision of the Divine Mother, I prayed to her, taking a flower in my hand, a symbol. Hands, Mother, here is thy knowledge and here is thy ignorance. Giving up knowledge relative, I know this, does not mean that I accept ignorance. And that is why this prayer has been told every time. Take them both and give me only pure love. Here is thy holiness and here is thy unholiness. Holiness also is transcended after realizing God. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. Here is thy good and here is thy evil. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. Here is thy righteousness and here is thy unrighteousness. Thy. Everything is thine. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. I mentioned all these, but I could not say, Mother, here is thy truth and here is thy falsehood. Take them both. I gave up everything at her feet, but could not bring myself to give up truth. Had he said so, then all his giving up itself will become false. Soon the service began, according to the rules of the Brahma Samaj. So this talk before referring to Shivnath, his defect, and showing his own view, character. The preacher was seated on the dais. After the opening prayer, he recited holy texts of the Vedas on the dais. After the opening text of the dais and was joined by the congregation in the invocation to the Supreme Brahman. They chanted in chorus, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Ananda Rupam Amrutam Yad Vibhati, Shantam Shivam Advaitam, Shuddham Apapaviddham. Meaning, Brahman is truth, knowledge, and infinity. It shines as bliss and immortality. Brahman is peace, blessedness, the one without a second. It is pure and unstained by sin. The minds of the devotees were stilled and they closed their eyes in meditation due to the feeling of this description. The master went into deep samadhi. If Brahman is being described according to Upanishads, then master realizes that, experiences that, and that results in his samadhi. He sat there transfixed and speechless. After some time he opened his eyes, looked around and suddenly stood up with the words Brahma, Brahma. So that experience overpowered him and he stood up and said Brahma, Brahma on his lips. Soon the devotional music began, accompanied by drums and cymbals. In a state of divine fervor, the master began to dance with the devotees. Vijay and the other Brahmo danced around him. So he taught this to the Brahmos. The guests and the devotees were enchanted. Other than the devotees, there were guests who had come to witness the festival and see Thakur. Many of them drank the sweet bliss of God's name and forgot the world. Many of them were able to forget the world, being carried away by Sri Ramakrishna's dance. They were also enjoying the bliss. The happiness of the material world appeared bitter to them, at least for the time being, because Sri Ramakrishna has raised their minds. After the kirtan, all sat round the master, eager to hear his words. So he has now brought his mind down to our level. Master, it is difficult to lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. Straight away, one should sometimes think of Thakur as an ideal for the householders. He knows every nerve of the householders. He knows it is difficult, and yet he encourages them. He does not make a difference in the spiritual life. He treats sannyasi in a different way, householders in a different way, but all he tries to lead towards God. In a spirit of detachment, anasakti. Once Pratap said to me, this is Pratap Chandra Mazumdar, another leader of the Brahma Samaj. Sir, we follow the example of King Janaka. He is the most famous householder having spiritual realization. He led the life of a householder in a detached spirit. We shall follow him. I said to him, can one be like King Janaka by merely wishing? How many austerities he practiced in order to acquire divine knowledge? He practiced the most intense form of asceticism for many years and only then returned to the life of the world. This is about Janaka. So only by saying Janaka, you cannot become Janaka. Because of your realization, he became unattached. Is there then no hope for the householders? So he takes up that it is difficult, but not that there is no hope. Certainly there is, that is Thakur's assurance. They must practice spiritual discipline in solitude for some days. So there may be householders, but they must for some days practice spiritual life in solitude. Then only their mind will change the direction. Thus they will acquire knowledge and devotion. Both. Knowledge about the nature of Brahman, the knowledge of the real, knowledge about our truth and truth of the world, and simultaneously devotion to God. Both will come to them. Then it will not hurt them to lead the life of the world. Then non-attachment will come. They can live in the world. But when you practice discipline in solitude, keep yourself entirely away from your family. So solitude means absolute solitude you should do for some days, especially from your own family, where the attachment is there. You must not allow your wife, son, daughter, mother, father, sister, brother, friends, or relatives near you. So he describes the family in great detail so that all related to you by body and mind should be kept away. While thus practicing discipline in solitude, you should think, I have no one else in the world. God is my all. Difficult, but possible, and you must do that. You must also pray to Him with tears in your eyes for knowledge and devotion. So, directly praying for knowledge and devotion with tears in your eyes, you will get them. If you ask me how long you should live in solitude away from your family, because he has said some days, I should say that it would be good for you if you could spend even one day in such a manner, hmm, such a manner, absolutely removed from the ties of the world, 3 days at a time are still better. One may live in solitude for 12 days, a month, 3 months, or a year according to one's convenience and ability. So he's not setting a time limit. As much as you can possibly do, you should do. So no calculation of time. One hasn't much to fear if one leads the life of a householder after attaining knowledge and devotion. Because then God is the center of your life. If you break a jackfruit after rubbing your hands with oil, then its sticky milk will not smear your hands. Example. While playing the game of hide and seek, you are safe if you but once touch the granny. Be turned into gold by touching the philosopher's stone. After that, you may remain buried underground 1,000 years. When you are taken out, you will still be gold. So once direction change, God comes in your life, it will never go. The mind is like milk. If you keep the mind in the world, which is like water, then the milk and water will get mixed. That is why people keep milk in a quiet place and let it set into curd and then churn butter from it. So if you put butter in water, it will float. Likewise, through spiritual discipline practiced in solitude, churn the butter of knowledge and devotion from the milk of the mind. That means they are inside. You get them outside. Then that butter can easily be kept in the water of the world. It will not get mixed with the world. The mind will float detached on the water of the world. This is the way to gain detachment. Practice in solitude. 1 day, 3 days, 10 days, 1 month, 1 year. Vijay had just returned from Gaya, where he had spent a long time in solitude and holy company. He had put on the ochre robe of a monk and was in an exalted state of mind, always indrawn. He was sitting before the master with his head bent down as if absorbed in some deep thought. Casting his benign glance on Vijay, the master said, Vijay, have you found your room? That means Swarupa, devotion to God. Let me tell you a parable. Once two holy men, in the course of their wanderings, entered a city. One of them with wondering eyes and mouth agape was looking at the marketplace, the stalls, and the buildings. When he met his companion, the latter said, You seem to be filled with wonder at the city. Where is your baggage? He replied, First of all, I found a room. I put my things in it, locked the door, and felt totally relieved. Now I am going about the city enjoying all the fun. So I am asking you, Vijay, if you have found your room to aim at others, you see, the spring in Vijay's heart has become covered all these days. Now it is open because he has followed the master. He joined the Brahma Samaj, though he was a Goswami. He joined the Brahma Samaj for he thought that they care for truth. But when the experiences started coming, he could not remain there and he became free in his mind by Thakur's grace. To Vijay, well, Shivnath is always in trouble and turmoil. Now he's talking of the problems with Shivnath. He has to write for magazines and perform many other duties. Worldly duties bring much worry and anxiety along with them. Hmm. Worldly duties, worry and anxiety. It is narrated in the Bhagavata that the Avaduta had 24 gurus, one of whom was a kite, that bird. In a certain place, the fishermen were catching fish. A kite swooped down and snatched a fish. At the sight of the fish, about 1,000 crows chased the kite and made a great noise with their cawing. Whichever way the kite flew with the fish, the crows followed it. The kite flew to the south and the crows followed it there. The kite flew to the north and still the crows followed after it. The kite went east and west, but with the same result. As the kite began to fly about in confusion, lo, the fish dropped from his mouth. The crows at once let the kite alone and flew after the fish. Thus relieved of his worries, the kite sat on the branch of a tree and thought, that wretched fish was at the root of all my troubles. I have now got rid of it, and therefore I am at peace. So that is what Avaduta learned. The Avaduta learned this lesson from the kite, that as long as a man has the fish, that is worldly desires, he must perform. So, not a thing, worldly desires. From this example, Thakur is not telling that if you have wealth, people will come to you. No. If you have worldly desires, he has taken from this example to the subtler field which the Avaduta had done. He must perform actions and consequently suffer from worry, anxiety, and restlessness. This is what karma will lead to. No sooner does he renounce those desires than his activities fall away and he enjoys peace of soul. But work without any selfish motive is good. So it does not mean that you give up your work. You give up the selfishness in the work. It does not create any worry, but it is very difficult to be totally unselfish. There also the difficulty is there. If you can be unselfish, you are free from worries. We may think that our work is selfless, but selfishness comes unknown to us from no one knows where. Expectations come. But if a man has already undergone great spiritual discipline, then as a result of it, he may be able to do work without any selfish motive. After the vision of God, a man can easily do unselfish work. People think after vision of God, he need not do anything. He need not, but he can. In most cases, action drops away after the attainment of God. That also is telling. Only a few, like Narada, work to bring light to mankind. So, after realization, he can do unselfish work. Most of them drop out, but a few who have power, they do. So, that is the full truth. The Avaduta accepted a bee as another teacher. Bees accumulate their honey by days of hard labor, but they cannot enjoy their honey, for a man soon breaks the comb and takes it away. The Avaduta learned this lesson from the bees, that one should not lay things up. Sadhus should depend. No, this is a lesson to the sadhus, not to the householders. Avaduta himself was a man of renunciation. Sadhus should depend 100% on God. They must not gather for the morrow, but this does not apply to the householder. So Adhikar Bhed is there in every teaching. Same thing is not same for all. He must bring up his family. Therefore, it is necessary for him to provide. I am not going to deal again with that Tukaram. Birds and monks do not hoard. Yet birds also hoard after their chicks are hatched. They collect food in their bricks for their young ones. That not for themselves, but for the young ones who cannot go for food themselves. Clear, practical. Let me tell you one thing, Vijay. Don't trust a sadhu if he keeps bag and baggage with him and a bundle of clothes with many knots. Knots. Knots represent storing. Funny thing, many people think orthodox sadhus that stitched clothes a sadhu should not wear. And instead of, they put so many knots on their cloth. Let me tell you one thing, Vijay. Don't trust a sadhu if he keeps bag and baggage with him and a bundle of cloths with many knots. Another funny thing which I observe in the Ramakrishna Mission and outside is that shoulder bag. They are going to the prayer hall, but with a shoulder bag. Anyway, what can I do? I have seen such sadhus under the banyan tree in the Panchavati. 2 or 3 of them were seated there. One was picking over lentils, some were sewing their clothes, and all were gossiping about a feast they had enjoyed in a rich man's house. They said among themselves that rich man spent 100,000 rupees on the feast. 100,000 in those days, huh? And fed the sadhus sumptuously with cake, sweets, and many such delicious things. All laugh. Vijay, it is true, sir. I have seen such sadhus at Gaya. They are called the Lotawala sadhus of Gaya, carrying water pot to gather things. So sadhus do not have that also. Master to Vijay, when love of God is awakened, work drops away of itself. If God makes someone work, let them work. It is now time for you to give up everything. Renounce all and say, "O mind, may you and I alone behold the mother, letting no one else intrude." This is a famous line from a Bengali devotional song. Saying this, Sri Ramakrishna began to sing in his world enthralling voice. So that very song. Cherish my precious mother Shama tenderly within, O mind. May you and I alone behold her. You means mine and myself, letting no one else intrude. O mind, in solitude enjoy her, keeping the passions all outside. Take but the tongue that now and again it may cry out, O mother, mother. Suffer no breath of base desire to enter and approach us there, but with true knowledge stand on guard, alert and watchful evermore, not to allow anything outside to come in. The master said to Vijay, surrender yourself completely to God. That song takes the message deeper and set aside all such things as fear and shame. Give up such feeling as, what will people think of me if I dance in the ecstasy of God's holy name? The saying, one cannot have the vision of God as long as one has these three, shame, hatred, and fear. Thakur has repeated this infinitely. It is very true. Shame, hatred, fear, then he expands it into 8. Shame, hatred, fear, caste, pride, secretiveness, and the like are so many bonds. Man is free when he is liberated from all these fetters. Shame, hatred, fear, caste, pride, secretiveness, and the like. When bound by ties, one is jiva and when free from ties, one is Shiva. Prema, ecstatic love of God, is a rare thing. That means where you forget the world and your body. First of all, one acquires bhakti. Bhakti is single-minded devotion to God. Like the devotion a wife feels for her husband, it is very difficult to have unalloyed devotion to God. Through such devotion, one's mind and soul merge in Him. So, Madhurva, like the wife feels for the husband. Then comes Bhav, intense love. Through Bhav, a man becomes speechless. His nerve currents are stilled. Kumbhaka comes by itself, restraining the breath without physical attempt. It is like the case of a man whose breath and speech stop when he fires a gun. So, because of his interest, concentration in firing the gun, his breath stops. So, when you are devoted to God, the mind automatically becomes concentrated and then the breath stops. So, worldly example is given for people to experience that, to understand that. But prema, ecstatic love, is an extremely rare thing. So, in this definition, bhakti, then bhava, then prema. Chaitanya had that love. When one has prema, one forgets all outer things. One forgets the world. One even forgets one's own body, which is so dear to a man. The master began to sing. Oh, when will dawn the blessed day, when tears of joy will flow from my eyes, as I repeat Lord Hari's name. Oh, when will dawn the blessed day, when all my cravings for the world will vanish straight away from my heart, and with the thrill of his holy name, all my hair will stand on end. Oh, when will dawn that blessed day? So the talk of divine things was proceeding when some invited Brahmo devotees entered the room. There were among them a few pandits and high government officials. Invited Brahmo devotees. No, yes. Specially invited, you may say. Sri Ramakrishna had said that bhava stills the nerve currents of the devotee. He continued, so people entered, but Thakur is continuing. When Arjuna was about to shoot at the target, example, concentration, the eye of a fish, his eyes were fixed on the eye of the fish and on nothing else. He didn't even notice any part of the fish except the eye. In such a state, the breathing stops and one experiences kumbhaka. So after kumbhaka, to concentrate the mind. But if the mind can be concentrated, then kumbhaka happens. Another characteristic of God vision is that a great spiritual current rushes up along the spine and goes toward the brain. If then the devotee goes into samadhi, he sees God. Looking at the Brahmo devotees who had just arrived, the master said, mere pandits, devoid of divine love, talk incoherently. Pandit Samadhyai once said, in the course of his sermon, God is dry. Make him sweet by your love and devotion. Imagine, to describe him as dry, whom the Vedas declare as the essence of bliss, rasam eva sa, raso evam labda anandi bhavati. To describe him as dry, whom the Vedas declare as the essence of bliss, it makes one feel that the Pandit didn't know what God really is. That was why his words were so incoherent. A man once said, there are many horses in my uncle's cowshed. From that, one could know that the man had no horses at all. No one keeps a horse in a cowshed. Some people had remarked at this, and he had no cows also. Because in cowshed, if horses are kept, where are the cows? Some people pride themselves in their riches and power because the Brahma devotees were elite. Their wealth, honor, and social position. But these are only transitory. Nothing will remain with you in death. You will take your good karmas, you will take your spirituality, no worldly possessions. There is a song that runs, remember this, O mind, nobody is your own. Vain is your wandering in this world, trapped in the subtle snare of Maya as you are. Do not forget the mother's name. Only a day or two men honor you on earth as Lord and Master all too soon. That form, so honored now, must need be cast away when death the Master seizes you. Even your beloved wife, for whom while yet you live, you fret yourself almost to death, will not go with you then. She too will say farewell and shun your corpse as an evil thing. So remember the future events and be wise. One must not be proud of one's money. If you say that you are rich, then one can remind you that there are richer men than you. That is another way to think. And others richer still, and so on. At dusk, the glowworm comes out and thinks that it lights the world. But its pride is crushed when the stars appear in the sky. The stars feel that they give light to the earth. But when the moon rises, the stars fade in shame. The moon feels that the world smiles at its light and that light lights the earth. Then the eastern horizon becomes red and the sun rises, the moon fades, and after a while is no longer seen. So this should be remembered. If wealthy people would think that way, they would get rid of their pride in their wealth. Manilal had provided a sumptuous feast in celebration of the festival. He entertained the master and the other guests with great love and attention. It was late at night when they returned to their home. One announcement I have to make, please. One announcement, important. Tomorrow being Wednesday, this class is not there. And Thursday also, there will be no gospel class. My morning class is going to finish tomorrow. So Thursday, I want to keep the whole day free. From Friday, I am starting a new class in Hindi on Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. Gospel class will continue, but after 2 holidays, Wednesday and Thursday. Gospel class will be resumed now on Friday, the 10th of February. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadatam Bhuvi Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.